Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's an Ozicar tradition. We're going to end the year for Ozicar with the Tin Top Enduro Cup. 3 models of car racing together at one of Australia's greatest sports car racing circuits. It's Phillip Island. A couple of tight hairpins, some really fast flowing corners, and a lot of great Aussie competitors out here for an hour, 45-minute race. We're bringing you live coverage on SimSpeed TV. David Haynes here with Jay Kennedy.
Hello, Mr. Haynes. I remember to click the right button. This should be a very, very fun one. We've got a very, very competitive and close group of drivers in cars that are surprisingly fairly evenly matched when we look at qualifying times. Literally nothing between the top 3, and we've got 2 different cars represented in those 3.
Yep, so qualifying is just beginning to come to a close now. 2 laps of it for the hour, 45-minute race. Here again at Phillip Island Circuit. So fast, so flowing, beautiful views, and it's also a beautiful day for it as well. Sun's out, and always good to be, on a beautiful island around the water on a lovely day like it is, middle of December. So, a gentle drive from Melbourne. Kind of day trippable, maybe getting a little bit onto the limit. Lots of nice places to stay around here. Lots of nice penguins to say g'day to as well. Here we are for the Phillip Island Circuit. High speeds and high average speeds around here make slipstreaming pretty important as well. Layout hasn't changed too much over the years. What we race on today, basically the same since 1978. Changes to the pit lane, the pit exits, stuff like that. And a few new names on a few of these corners as well. Doohan Corner, Miller Corner, to go with Southern Loop, Siberia, Lukey Heights, and MG. We know create so much exciting. Really rely on the lateral grip of the cars, the high-speed, straight-line performance of the cars, and the big braking into Turn 4 and into Turn 10.
Yeah, they're the 2 big key corners on the track in regards to overtaking, but Turn 1 Doohan Corner does catch a lot of drivers out, and we see a lot of incidents at that corner from errors, ambitious moves, changes in wind direction can also catch drivers out there. So don't be surprised if we see that as an issue point on the track as well. The drivers have just finished qualifying. They're about to go and start their pace lap. We'll go through the format and the grid.
Yep, grid set. So it's time to have a look at what's ahead of us. Well, that qualifying is done. 105 minutes, aka an hour 45, with 1 fast repair per driver on offer. It means we're going to see pit lane used throughout today's racing, no doubt, for the Renault Clio Cup car, the Toyota GR86, and the global Mazda MX-5, each with their own little strengths. Certainly the GR86, a lot of cornering power, but a little bit more drag going on than the global Mazda. Both of those rear-wheel drive compared to the turbocharged but front-wheel drive Renault Clio. It's only got 5 speeds to go along with it as well. Tony Baker has been the fastest in qualifying in the Toyota GR86. Dan Bartusch just 4 thousandths of a second behind in qualifying. We've got Dan Stevens and Dale Sharp on the second row. Look how close they are to the pole position time but in a Renault Clio as well. So you can fight in whatever you've got. And then the next row is Toyota GR86s as well, with Joseph Parkinson and Ronald Allen. Sam Chapman and Michael Cullen are going to be 7th and 8th on this grid, with Jordan Dakin and Michael Latter, Leon Williams and Peter Wilkinson 11th and 12th. Got John Snell, Michael Haynes and Nathan Verney as the last driver with a qualifying time. Warren Henry and Andrew Bailey may race, and I've got Ira Felberg as race control in mind, but he says Ira Felberg on the graphic.
Yep, he's looking after race control. It's just because it's come from my spreadsheet that it's come up with that. But we're ready to roll off, and as we said, it'll be an hour 45 of racing action, so it's going to be a decent length race. But it should be a very, very fun one. Looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Someone was missing from the grid there.
Yeah, there's two. I think it is Andrew Bailey.
I think I see Andrew Bailey is missing as well. So you've got your Toyota GR86s on the front row. You've got Renault Clios on the next row. Toyota GR86s on the next row. Where's our best MX-5? They're a good race car. They're probably the most economical of all of these cars as well.
Yeah, one thing about the MX-5 is they may not have as much pace out on the track, especially at the start, but they will gain a lot of time back when it comes time for pit stops. They'll gain a big advantage back to those other cars around them at pit stop time. So don't be surprised to see them move on forward later on.
They're the lightest, they're good on fuel, they're kind to their tyres as well when we're talking about race stint, not just 2 laps of qualifying sort of stuff. So again, that's one to keep an eye on. A couple of those MX-5s back there. Warren Henry was in one. Then it's sort of Toyota, Renault, Toyota in these front rows here as well. Keep an eye on straight line speeds, other things. They're going to be weird to race together initially, even if their lap times were super close. We saw just thousandths of a second between the fastest Toyota GR86 and the fastest Renault Clio Cup car. But of course, it's speed in different places.
Yeah, and that'll be where the run down the front straight is going to play a big importance, isn't it? It's going to be lots of drafting going on. There's going to be lots of action in that aspect from how this race will play out.
I reckon those Clios with their turbocharged engines are going to do pretty well pulling out of the slow corners, but then with just the 5 gears and the sequential gearbox and the ratios are a little short, they might run out a little bit compared to some of the other cars right at the end of the straight. So you're going to have to be careful how you race the other drivers initially in this hour 45, but then you should settle into a bit of a rhythm and understanding and see where things are at. Again, that weather, sun is out, the track temperature is 53 Celsius, 15 kilometers of wind from the northwest, so it's what you'd expect from mid-December in Victoria on the island. The sun is out and it is beaming down powerfully, but there is a little bit of a breeze about. Pace car is in. The pole sitter, Tony Baker, holds them on the front straight, waiting for the green flag. And for an hour 45 minutes of Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup to begin. This is those Renaults getting up to speed very, very well. They've got wide power bands, a lot of torque from their turbocharged engines, and already they're trying to challenge for the race lead when the GR86s get up to speed and when they carry speed through the long corners with their slicks, with their big wings. That's where the GR86 can be strong, but it goes to show, I think, when you race close together like this, a bit of torque off the corners can put you in some really good places.
100%. It's very, very... Oh, look at those
Daniel
86s.
Stevens has ended up in a really difficult place, and that's going through the gravel on the outside of the southern loop after a little bit of contact.
Yeah, there's a bit of contact back in the field as well. Actually, he's got a mechanical black flag already in this one. So he's already got dramas. The car is damaged. You can actually see the front of the car's lifting off the ground a tiny little bit. That rear right-hand wheel is lifting off due to damage to the front left.
You reckon you could say rear right-hand wheel 10 times quickly?
Nope. I struggled to say it once.
I realised it would be quite the struggle. So yeah, that's another thing. You've got different models of cars. Some are a little more fragile than others. Beautiful, beautiful blue water out there, but there's probably a couple of sharks in there. There's also Dale on his yacht. Well, not his yacht. Let's have a look at this. So this is Southern Loop, turn 2.
Just a tiny little bit of contact. Just there. Fairly heavy contact into the back, but it's surprising that is how quickly damage occurred. Was there more contact? No, he's already picked up the mechanical black flag at that point, so it's surprising how little damage, how little contact there was that's caused that mechanical black flag to occur. He's coming into the pits already.
So final lap completed, Tony Baker leads. This is where Dale Sharp shows a little bit of his strength off the final corner, really picking up the power, but here he is in 5th gear, beginning to just run out a little bit. Then you get into the medium speed corners and look at the Toyota GR86 begin to eat him up. So a naturally aspirated 2.4 litre 4-cylinder for the Toyota GR86 that sits lower, sits rear-wheel drive, sits with a little bit more aero on wider tyres. So he's got so much speed initially off the Southern Loop, and once we get straight line, we put the power down, then that turbocharged Renault Clio begins to just gap a couple of car lengths. The GR86 will also be pretty good in the braking zone, but it's through the middle of the corner and then tracking out that the GR86 is strong, and then in a straight line the Renault Clio turbocharged horsepower on display.
The other key difference is I'm not 100% sure you mentioned it. I think you did, but the front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive is going to really show its strengths and weaknesses throughout this event as well. It's obviously rear wheel drive, the Clio being a front wheel drive, definitely will show the difference, and you can already see that the field is spread a little bit, but I don't think you'd be you'd be surprised at how tight the field is considering the different makes of cars that we've got out there.
So I think some of these GR86s have just a little bit more pace right now, but the straight line performance from the Clio out front is making him difficult to pass, backing them up a little bit through the corners. It's keeping us super close. Look at this view from 5th place. Ronald Allen going up through his 6 speeds of sequential gearbox, following the tow, but still Dale Sharp clocking the speed trap at about 215 k's an hour, while these Toyotas are only doing about 210. Then if you look at their minimum speeds through places, the medium speed corners, so I'm thinking over Lukey Heights, I'm thinking through Southern Loop here, that's where the GR86 looks super, super strong. That RMX-5 is just starting to find their feet as well. Warren Henry started way back in the field, and now he's up into 7th, 8th. So he's done well for himself at the moment in that Mazda.
He's doing very, very nicely. He's fastest lap just then, which is the first official lap. As you just see there, Sam Chapman getting the job done on Tony Baker. See that his fastest lap is a 48.8, but the guys at the front doing 47s. As we said though, he's probably going to have a shorter pit stop when it comes time for that pit stop to come around, so we'll gain a lot of that time back when we get into the pit stop window around halfway, remembering that these cars are restricted to 50% of their standard fuel tank limit.
I think the longer it goes on, the better the Mazda looks based on fuel economy, based on tyre life, tyre temperature, all of that stuff. You can put a lot of heat into your front right tyre around here, particularly I reckon in that Renault, but also just in the right hand side tyres, moving around a little bit more for the GR86, which is on a Continental race slick. The Mazda tyre, maybe it's not as much grip initially, but it definitely seems like it ought to be a bit more durable.
First look on board with Leon Williams. Sheepy, great to see some new faces on camera. Sam Chapman does the fastest lap of the race, and he's closing in on Dale Sharp at the front. These guys at the back here, they are racing probably a little bit too hard for a nearly 2-hour endurance race.
Yeah, certainly plenty happening. Leon Williams is watching. Which line am I going to go to? And the line you don't want is putting your outside tyres in the grass because it's so difficult to get back on the road. Hello, is there a party out there?
Building sandcastles out there, that's what's going on. The front of the field is closed up. Now, Sam Chapman is leading the Ozicar Tin Top Endurance Cup Championship at the moment. He's leading over Joseph Parkinson, who's back in 10th. But there's only 2 points separating those two drivers after our first two endurance races throughout the year. First one being at Bathurst, last one being at Sandown. And today, obviously, here. So Chapman looking to seal that championship. He basically has to finish ahead of Parkinson and Tony Baker to steal that championship.
Did get an opportunity to look at some of the numbers through the Southern Loop. Dale Sharp, minimum speed of 108 k's an hour. Sam Chapman, 115 or so. While there's 5 kilometers an hour of difference at the end of the straight, advantage the Renault. Through some of the slower corners, there's almost 15 k's an hour of advantage to the Toyota GR86. So it's the nimble and small Renault punching a bit of power in a straight line. Car with the widest tyres, the most aero going on. GR86 can make it up, particularly through the Southern Loop.
You see the gap that Clio starts to pull as they get into turn 1. The exit of MG, they were almost nose to tail, almost making contact. And even just here through Southern Loop, you can see how much advantage there is to the Toyota 86. Under braking and through the corner, but as soon as we get onto the straight again, that Clio seems to find something and pulls that gap out little by little. And it's just enough so that when we get to the braking zone, we've got a clear enough gap that the Toyota 86 cannot get through. Makes a little bit of contact on exit. We'll do the same thing again. I think it's going to come down to Dale Sharp making a mistake at this point. Mistake from Chapman has allowed Tony Baker to take advantage with that little bit of contact he made before. Saying that, he's coming back again.
Sam Chapman tried to get underneath the rear quarter of Dale Sharp on the exit of Miller Corner, and it didn't quite work, and that's what led to all this happening on behind. But I reckon that is a spot where the GR86 could come to the fore if you can get them through formerly Honda hairpin there and Siberia. That's where you've got a couple of slower corners together. You can try to outrace the Renault. Here, you can carry a bit more speed off the first left-hand and near flat out through the second bit. You won't be getting the boost like the Renault has in front.
Dan Stevens has already come in and got that car fixed. We saw him dive into the pit straight away. It's back out on track, currently now up into 15th after Michael Haynes went off the circuit at Southern Loop a couple of moments ago. We saw him out following Nathan Verney out there, but no safety cars as well, we've been told today, so it should be an out-and-out race, which means that the strategy of these pit stops, which some drivers might have tested multiple cars to see the difference in pit stop times, others will have no idea what will happen in the pit stop until they get in there. So that's going to be an interesting variable as well. Do you save some fuel in this pack? Is someone like Tony Baker going, well, Chapman wants to lead the group, do I let him go, follow him, save fuel, undercut him at the pit stop? Very viable strategy.
Yeah, so the three things are the size of the fuel tank, the fuel consumption of the car, and the refueling rate of the car. This is what Chapman's been trying to do. Get to the inside of Dale Sharp off the corner exit, maintain a little bit of side-by-side, and therefore he can be close towards the end of the straight. There's the yacht. Must be nice.
I love the story around that yacht.
Chapman's still sniffing around here, sniffing around the outside of MG. A little bit of contact, 3 wide, heading back through the left-hand, and Chapman's got his nose in front. Dale Sharp will absolutely have him by the time they turn into turn 1, but it's all about getting Chapman close enough that it's Southern Loop or the braking into turn 4, he can put Dale Sharp under pressure. So here's where the horsepower brings Dale Sharp back into the lead. They'll get towards turn 2 and Chapman will be as close as anyone has ever been.
The big thing that's going to help Chapman here is he's so close that he will be getting a lot more of a draft benefit than he previously has. But no changes in the order at that point. Other than Baker actually losing out when we came out of turn 11. So they There has been
Chapman's
that little
underneath.
change there. Yeah, it's got it underneath. Is he going to get it done? For now.
Can he come? He's going to come across and try to defend the braking for the inside of turn 4. So again, horsepower for Sharp. He's got to keep his foot in, go one side or the other. This is looking like Chapman set him up to be able to use the Toyota GR86's advantages, take the race lead in turn 4, be able to hold it again at turn 5, and then I think the GR86 can stay ahead if it's ahead at this point.
Yep, I agree. Too difficult for Sharp to come back at this point, but this is another spot where the 86 will lose out a tiny little bit. Well, this corner will help, but from here now it is all favouring the 86 once more, but he's got to build a pretty decent gap, if I can get my words out. He's got to build a pretty decent gap to make sure that he holds the position. I'll tell you what, Dan Bartosh looking to make the move and does. Was there a little bit of contact there though?
I don't think so, but it was opportunistic for Bartosh to get the nose down the inside there, and then maybe Sharp locked it up a little bit. How many can he get back now along the front straight though? Here he goes.
He's going to get all of them, I reckon. There's one. Surprising that he's only got up to 213 kilometres an hour. Thought he would have gone a little faster with the draft, and for the brief moment he had double draft, so it is a little surprising.
So Sector 1 I think looks good for the Renault, but Sectors 2 and 3 are looking good for Toyota GR86. Henry's in 10th at the moment. Trying to see, was there a tiny bit of contact there? I don't think there was.
I hadn't have messed up the
Not
replay.
much.
We could have seen there was tiniest of touches there, but yeah, it's not enough for race control to get involved, I don't believe.
And then you've also got a little bit of banking down at the apex, and then it's flatter around the outside. So the inside, it's a good place to be at MG, and hook just a little bit more banking, a little bit more momentum. Once you saw that Sharp was outside there, he just didn't have the grip he would otherwise had.
Peter Wilkinson just getting the move done on John Snell. They've been battling for most of this lap as well and changed positions a couple of times, but now position fully in Wilco's hands. Chapman's got out to a 7/10 lead now. Is that going to be enough to break the draft? Definitely not. Is it enough to maintain the position? Well, judging by the last lap, yes. In saying that, that gap's already down to 4/10.
Good run from Dale Sharp onto the front straight this time, and he's motoring
Wow.
to the inside of turn 1. Surely when it goes to coming racing side by side, the GR86 is the one to have able to hold its line far better. And he will through turn 1 and then turn 2. It's this point from the apex all the way to the track out where the Renault Clio has to wait until you're in a straight line to put the front wheel drive horsepower down. The GR86 almost gets to full throttle halfway through the corner and then punches out well initially until the track straightens out and the turbo becomes the thing to have again.
I talked up Wilco, and I talked him up too soon because as soon as I started talking about him, bang, into the tyre bundle at the exit of MG. Sorry, Wilco, that's on me. Chiefy with the
Leon
move
Williams.
there. Oh, you see him struggle there on Zoom just as we cut to him. He struggled and had to hold onto the wheel. He locked the front tyres up and he had no grip.
Yeah, Leon Williams, John Snell move up 1 now that Peter Wilkinson's gone down. Managed to avoid getting a meatball flag with his contact against the wall. I think the GR86 is one of the more durable cars.
Yeah. It's more designed for the biff and bash style of racing. I mean, saying that the Clio probably is too, but it seems to be a little bit more fragile of a machine is the Clio.
So here's Nathan Verney. The Mazda gets a little bit closer to these two battling GR86s in 11th and 12th. John Snell gets down the inside of Leon Williams.
See on our new track map that the field's sort of broken up into 3 groups, haven't they? And you can see that number 3 slowly catching those guys in the bottom right hand of the screen. There he is. He's slowly closing in on this little battle pack.
And I'm looking at these numbers. The end of straight speed's pretty decent for the Mazda MX-5.
Yeah.
You look at it compared to the GR86. Oh, look at it
no.
compared to that GR86. That's well off and really crossing to the outside of Southern Loop. I think there's less power but less drag on the MX-5. So initially on the straight, GR86 looks pretty good. But by the end of it, the Mazda's just a little bit slipperier.
Just noticed as well, we look at the front of that number 66 white Toyota GR86. It's one sad looking front grille, isn't it? That front splitter does not look healthy. It's been in the wars, but I'm not sure who with.
Well, that's the nose that did Daniel Stevens' rear suspension in. So
yes, you're right, it is.
could be that.
Yep. These two have changed positions again, Snell and Verney, and just behind Wilkinson and Williams going at it. There's Dan Stevens starting to close in on them. So everyone at the moment has a battle going on, whether it's against themselves, against the track, against another car in a different class. Everyone's got something going on.
I'd love to see Verney on the front straight here, see if we're seeing what I think we're seeing. So he's a couple of car lengths back here. Those cars should be full throttle through the final corner here. And
Very gaining speed, isn't he?
Yeah, he starts to gain just a little bit. The GR86 is slightly bigger, so it'll be offering some decent slipstream to the Mazda you'd expect. Revving up through 5th gear.
Big difference there is that as they've turned into the corner, the MX-5's had to get out of the throttle. The 86 is still accelerating. So that the Toyota 86 got up to 203. Oh, Snell, that's a huge moment.
They're all trying to fall off the road at Southern Loop now. Track temperature's still north of 50 degrees Celsius. Very hot racing track. The right-hand side tyres, particularly the front right, I reckon some of those are getting toasty for a whole heap of cars here. We've still got Ronald Allen holding the fastest lap of the race from quite some laps ago.
Dan Stevens has now got himself a battle back to get involved in again. He's closed that gap right down to Leon Williams and Peter Wilkinson. He's right there now.
What's going on with where it tries to render his name?
So he's manually put in a name over the top of the automated name that gets added by iRacing, as far as I can tell. It's got the two stickers overriding each other.
Daniel Stevens.
No, he's made his own Stevens nameplate and then iRacing stamped one over the top.
Well, he's got some decisions to make here, but if he can be close enough through the final corner, we're going to get another example of Clio turbo power versus Toyota GR86 naturally aspirated boxer. Like, can I get the inside line, or is he pushing him? He's doing
a bit of bump draft there.
This will be the fastest Toyota GR86 all race.
And a little bit of a giggle there while he's done that too, isn't he? He's enjoying that. It's a nice little overtake there in the end. Well, they both are.
That's how we can set a new fastest lap of the race.
Just get everyone to bump draft each other.
Yeah, get a Renault to push a GR86.
You can then push a MX-5 down the straight as well. It's crazy how we've got all three classes in a little area. I mean, Verney's not that far ahead of these guys as well, so we could see all of them get involved in a fight here. Disappointed Wilco didn't get on Zoom though. I thought he would have been jumping all over Zoom and getting on and helping us out.
I'm not in a position to be able to talk too much smack about the man. Lest he asked for this graphics card back and I'm commentating on radio.
Back up the front, still going on. That gap between first and second creeps up to nearly a full second, and then it comes back down once more. But the 86s are definitely looking a lot stronger through the corners and on corner exit, but approaching the corners, the straights just seem to be all about the Clio, and the MX-5 maybe just the best all-rounder in the group.
I think we'll be talking a lot more about Mazda after the first round of pit stops. That's my thinking here at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. With the 50% fuel tank, most cars will be able to pit with about an hour to go, an hour-ish to go, and make it home. So we've got a pretty wide pit window even with that 50%.
Yeah, well, the GR86 was 80-litre tank or something.
Yeah.
It used to be just a little more than 90 minutes. So I think they're at half, sort of 45 or 50 minutes for the GR86. Renault Clio doesn't have a particularly
Change of position there.
tank.
Baker gets through on sharp at the exit of MG, which I think came from nothing, really.
So the Renault Clio's got a 60-litre tank that is halved to 30 here in this race. Sharp is under just a little bit more pressure. Sam Chapman, the race leader, doesn't need to look in his mirrors too much, even when Sharp is steaming towards him at turn 1.
That's
It
at
becomes
1.3.
It becomes tough for the rest of those GR86s as well if Chapman gets away.
Yeah, definitely does. But the other side of that coin is he using more fuel and more tyre, and will he have to change a lot more at the pit stop? That's just a little tiny mistake there from Dale Sharp to lose that position, but obviously, as we noted, we gained that back very, very quickly. Bernie and Snell side by side down the front straight. MX-5 versus 86. Identical for speed at turn-in, but who's going to win out this one? They're still side by side.
When it's side by side through a corner, it's advantage to a GR86. So it's subtly different. Oh, nope, because there's no aero, no wide slick tyres on that MX-5. Here comes Daniel Stevens.
Stevens is by far the fastest on track that isn't in that lead group. He's closing in on these guys so quick. And also able to gain a bit more speed throughout. He's also made that pit stop for damage. You know, I feel like he would have topped up the fuel maybe, you know, the couple of seconds that he needed to get it back up to nearly full, or too full at one point. Don't be surprised to see him do something different in regards to pit stop strategy as well when that rolls around in a little while.
Yeah, so he stopped at the end of lap 1. Just a tiny bit of fuel at that point. The pace lap and 1 racing lap's worth is all he would have been able to replace, but it is therefore about a lap and a half more than anyone else. So he's 32 seconds behind the race lead at the moment, slowly picking off a few cars, and we'll see what happens, because when we see pit stops from the rest, he will go just fractionally longer than Dale Sharp probably can in the other Renault Clio that's racing.
Look at the difference in speed on that last lap with the changes of position. That draft is now officially gone. 2.4 seconds at the start finish line, now down to 2.2, but it's grown out, and now these guys battling as hard as they are, I think they are concerned about how much of a lead Sam Chapman has. I mean, it looks like there's a little bit of stress going on in amongst this group.
Tony Baker said hello one side, hello the other of Dale Sharp, who says, yes, but do you speak 20, 30 more horsepower.
Cullen closing in on these guys. Sitting back watching, it's a good view to have of this battle going on.
This is getting a bit much from Tony Baker, if I'm honest with you.
He's hardly been on the racing line this lap, hasn't he? He's been on the alternate line trying to get a move done for pretty much a full lap. And now tucks in behind. The disadvantage, obviously, the straight line speed isn't there. He's had a poor exit. Michael Cullen may get the move done here.
Is it happening?
What's going on right now, isn't there? It's great to watch, a great view of this battle going on. He's going to throw it up the inside here. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't just throw the move. And I'm not referring to Baker at this point either. I was referring to Cullen. I thought he may have thrown it up the inside, but wasn't quite close enough at turning point. This has turned into a brilliant fight going on between this 5-car train, all bar one, in the Toyota 86. Leader of the group is Dale Sharp in that Renault Clio. And guess what? They lost another 1.7 seconds to the race leader with their fighting on the last lap.
It's interesting to see that the braking performance is quite similar. It's the lateral grip that the GR86 has got more of as Tony Baker gets too close and they spear off every single which way. And onto the Toyota GR86, third, fourth, fifth. Ronald Allen goes through for a few as Tony Baker and Dan Bartusch were both off the road.
How we didn't end up with someone punting someone from that, I will never know, because that could have ended in absolute disaster. But they've all made it out the other side. They've all spread themselves apart now, but that should have and could have ended in a lot more disaster than it did. You see just a little bit of contact side by side, and that is a brilliant job from Dan Bartusch to pull the car up on the grass and not skittle everyone else in front of him and turn it into a game of 10-pin bowling.
You were seeing a bit of James Courtney or something, were you?
Yeah. Alex Premer, James Courtney. It was definitely looking like that sort of incident could have happened there. And we go back to this group again. You can see Stevens there at the front. He's pulled about 2 seconds on the pack between Wilkinson, Snell and Nathan Verney, who are still going at it. Leon Williams, unfortunately, has dropped off the back of this group as well. We're already a third of the way through the race too, pretty much. Just ticking over half an hour, so past a quarter race distance. This intensity feels like it has to drop down a little bit, because if they maintain this, nobody's going to finish the race.
Warren Henry, a bit of a drama on the last lap, just based on his lap time as well. Because I'm seeing Nathan Verney here, and then I'm thinking about the other MX-5s. Warren Henry's still up top of them at the moment in 10th. So then I went and looked at lap times. I thought, are the MX-5s holding on to their pace a little better than the others? Are the tyres dropping off more from some of the others? And then I was like, oh, Warren Henry's not all hacking in PBs at the moment. So
I think it's just no actual issues on the lap, just a little bit of a tardy lap. Missed the apex at a couple of corners and didn't quite have the right line. It was very, very wide through MG and Honda, so he's having a couple issues in that aspect. But other than that, it was an all-okay lap. This lead group has strung out, and now a full second advantage on the clock for Sam Chapman over Dale Sharp on that previous lap. One comment that Ira Felberg has made in the chat is that the Clios could be using up all of their tyres early. Warren Henry is the first to pounce. He's decided to come into the pit lane.
MX-5. fancies a bit of right-hand side tyre. Makes a whole lot of sense at this racetrack and on a day like this.
100%. The track almost feeling like lava, getting some fresh boots is probably not the worst idea in the world. Also just seen race controllers come out with a decision on the incident we saw with Tony Baker and Dale Sharp on lap 16, which was 2 laps ago. No further action, racing incident. So those guys will carry on as if nothing happened too much. Warren Henry is about to come back out onto the circuit and will resume just in front of Michael Haynes, who has yet to make his stop. He's still going around. Everyone's still on the lead lap at this point. There is your leader, Sam Chapman. But we could see anyone pit from this point on, basically make it home, in my thinking. Maybe we might need to go another 5 minutes or so.
Some of these, I think, are touch and go for a 2-stop at a 50% fuel tank. Overall, I think this is quite a bit of time at full throttle racetrack. It's not quite Monza,
yeah,
but it's there.
This group of now 4, would you say it's still a 5-car group? Dan Bartosz is what, 4 seconds now behind Dale Sharp. He's still just hanging on to the draft range of Tony Baker ahead, but he could very, very quickly lose that draft.
Well, he was the quickest car on track last lap, though.
Yeah,
so...
true. Very true. He was 3 thousandths of a second faster than Sam Chapman, so yeah, he probably does have enough genuine pace to close that gap back down. Only drivers into the 1 minute 46 range were Chapman at the front, Bartosz, as we said, fastest on track, and Ronald Allen sitting there in 4th, third car in the group of cars on screen right there. He also did a 1 minute 46. We look at Dale Sharp's time at the front of this group. He did a 147.6, so another 8/10 advantage to Sam Chapman at the front of the field. Sharp's pace has definitely gone away, and here he comes. He's coming in the pits.
Yep, so a slightly smaller fuel tank for the Renault Clio than the Toyota GR86, but I think the Renault Clio spends a little bit less of the lap at full throttle than the Toyota GR86 does. So we'll see what this is going to look like for Dale Sharp.
And will we see the other runner in the Clio come in probably 2 more laps after, that being Dan Stevens? You can see the manufacturers on the timing tower now. Remember how to click that button to turn that on. We are not far away from potentially seeing some of the 86s in as well. I wouldn't be too surprised by. And right on cue, there is one, being John Snell. And that car looks like it's not really straight. Got a mechanical black flag, but it didn't look like it was driving 100% straight then.
Imagine we're still in 2-stop territory here, though, with 35 minutes into the race and an hour 10 still to go.
The other part of that too is, do you compromise and do 2 stops and then you get an extra fresh set of tyres on this scorching hot track? You decide that that time loss of taking another set of tyres is worth it with the struggle streets you're going to go through by using your tyres or recycling your tyres. I think some will do the 2-stop purely based on the fact that the track is as hot as lava right now.
Dale Sharp, he's at real risk of being overcut by all of these Toyota GR86s right now, depending on how they race each other. Ronald Allen into 2nd place, Tony Baker getting closer. He was feisty earlier on in this. So Michael Cullen in third, almost looks to get his nose back down the inside at Southern Loop. And they're all 8 seconds behind Sam Chapman. Wilkinson hits in, so a bit more action in the last 2 or 3 laps on pit lane. Tony Baker at the inside of the sweeping turn 3, absolutely flat out, taking you to the braking zone at turn 4. And he's made contact with the left door, the right door, the nose.
The driver's about the only thing he hasn't hit at this point is Baker, but in saying that, every single bit of contact that he has made has been so slight, it hasn't even unsettled the other driver. He's been very, very good at making the right amount of contact, say, hey, I'm here, I want through, and not being aggressive that he's pushed the boundaries or feeling the wrath of Ira sitting in race control. I must say Ira's probably feeling a bit upset that he's not sitting in the race at this point, because this is the sort of racing he absolutely loves.
It's Tony Baker up in the second, Dan Bartosz closer to this gaggle of Toyota GR86s. We've only seen one Toyota pit, while we've seen both of the Renaults. We've now seen
we've had two Toyotas now.
Yeah, okay.
Wilkinson and Snell have both come in. As you say, we've seen one Toyota and one Renault and one MX-5. We have another Toyota in the pits now of Joseph Parkinson. He's probably going to be a good barometer as well, because he was leading that second train of cars, wasn't he?
Yeah, but still with a little damage on the nose that maybe he's gone and dealt with right now. Ronald Allen comes back at Tony Baker. And as all this happens, Sam Chapman's lead begins to approach 10 seconds.
He's got it right out now, hasn't he? He's taken a big advantage. He's just running off the circuit. There was Ronald Allen. He's just been forced a tiny little bit wide there by Baker at the exit of Miller Corner. He did get 2 wheels in the dirt, almost lost the spot to Dan Bartosz, but maintains it for now. And Michael Cullen is still there, content, watching what's going on and thinking, I don't know if I want to be part of this. I do know I want to get ahead of it. How do I do it without getting involved? Might not have a choice here. He's going to get himself in the fight without wanting to.
That's a good job to get a little bit of that camber at the apex that you get offered at MG. One of the reasons why running a little wide there can be so costly. A lot of side-by-side and not a whole lot of bump drafting happening, but Bartosz bumps Tony Baker along. Michael Cullen is going to close in from that position.
Might really have to start doing some bump drafting to try and close that gap down. They've lost another 1.5 seconds on that lap. So now it's 10.2. Start-finish line the previous lap was about 8.5.
Sam Chapman's doing personal best stuff up front. Nathan Verney pits, so that's a Mazda.
When will our leader pit is now going to be a key question. Nathan Verney, as I said, is in the pits. The only drivers that actually have taken their fast repairs, though, are Dan Stevens, which obviously is due to mechanical black flag, and Joseph Parkinson actually took his spare car fast repair at his pit stop just then, as Dan Bartosz gets to the lead of the group. Michael Cullen still sits there at the rear of the group.
Yeah, so by offering a bump draft 1 lap, it's Tony Baker going to return the favour. That's what we haven't seen from this group of 4 drivers. 1 second stop for Nathan Verney is significant.
He's made sure he's taken all of his tyres and filled up as much fuel as possible, and that could just be the difference in taking 90% of a full tank and 100% of the full tank to take that extra little bit of fuel. Some drivers may not have done a single bit of fuel calculation and are just using the auto fuel settings that iRacing now has, and maybe that's why we're seeing such a discrepancy in the fuel count for drivers. But if Dale Sharp in his Renault is able to do this on one stop, he's probably going to undercut just based on the pit stop time. His pit stop at 21 seconds versus everyone else in the 86 between 27 and 40 seconds. He's looking like he's got a big advantage. But we don't know how many stops he's going to need to make.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a little bit of heads and tails of those pit stop times, and what I think it is you've got these two stops, so you're deciding how much do I want to take at the first stop, and then how much do I want to take at the second. And I think Dale Sharp's maybe gone a little short on the first one, while clearly some drivers like Nathan Verney and Warren Henry have gone pretty big on their first fuel drop.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I have a feeling we're going to see someone in this 4-car group jump in the pits on this lap. Who, I don't know, but I feel like someone's going to have to blink within this group. Completely wrong though, aren't I?
The top 7 haven't stopped, and then most behind that have. Well, it depends how you want to count Daniel Stevens.
Well, Stevens still has to come in and make another stop. We know that 100% for sure, because he came in at the end of lap 1.
Tell you what, those new tyres aren't bad for Joseph Parkinson though, because he's gone personal best. He's loaded a bunch of fuel into the car, but also got new tyres, and the new tyres are doing a lot for him. So he was close to the fastest car on the track last lap. And then this could be another good one for him as well.
The other part of that too, obviously, is saying he's got a new set of tyres. He's also got a fresh car, so that front splitter damage could have been enough to slow him down as well. Not sure how much pace was lost from that damage, but definitely could have been a factor as well, that he was slow due to that damage he had on the front.
Looks pretty tidy this lap around, and no draft or anything, but also no traffic to think about. So this could be an even quicker lap for him. Fastest lap of the race is a 46.5 at the moment.
470. Not a bad lap.
Not bad. The previous one was 46.5. So
our leader's doing 46.9. This group's doing 46.9s as well. You notice in the background there, that is a car of Michael Haynes, who has still yet to make his pit stop, but has gone a 1 lap down. So he's been in the wars, but he's still fighting on and still racing in this race, which is the key to these events. Get out there, have a go, race to the end, have a laugh, have some fun. Speaking of having fun, Sam Chapman has decided to take the fastest lap away for some fun as well.
yeah, we have had just a tiny bit of cloud cover and other come across for a moment. So track temp was 53, down to 48 Celsius now, so that's helping as well. That's good news for Sam Chapman. And then the lap times for Dale Sharp was probably also something to watch. 47.1 on the previous lap. What do his last 3 look like? 46.7, 46.9, 47.1, 47.1. So not bad, but just a couple of tenths slower than the GR86s. And that's what you felt like it was, the GR86, just a couple of tenths faster, but unable to pass due to the straight line difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that will be negated by the amount of time needed in the pit stop. So sure, it's going to be 15 odd seconds less, but 15 seconds can be made up by those 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second differences in lap pace over such a long race. So I think it's going to balance itself out pretty well between them by the time we have pit stops happen at the front of the field. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I'm feeling it's going to work out.
About to be 26 laps completed with 33 to go for your leader. So those two meet each other at the halfway to go. See who's one stop, who's two stop. I feel like everyone we've seen pit to this point must be two stopping, but maybe Warren Henry and Nathan Verney just decided they were gonna pit early, and they can go from there. Michael Haynes, another Toyota GR86 we're gonna see.
A huge moment there for John Snell. He's done a good job to make sure he hasn't hit the wall. Put it out in the grass, but managed to hold on somehow. Closest Baker's been to potentially get that second position back in a little while. I don't think he's going to make the move though, but making sure that Bartosz knows that he's there, isn't he? He's doing enough with the tiny little rubs, the moving around in the mirrors. He's trying to force an error, but none has been coming, and this pack has been a bit status quo over the last little while because they're lapping identical lap times to the almost 100th of a second to our race leader in Sam Chapman, other than that lap where he pulled out the fastest lap. The only reason he did that was because he had some advantage from the lap traffic that is just ahead of these guys, stealing some toe.
"54 seconds stationary for Michael Haynes, so maybe he can make it to the end from there, but it's a long stop time."
Yeah, he's taken all of the fuel he possibly can. May have got some damage fixed as well, potentially. Taken 4 tyres, got optional repairs done. He's still got his fast repair available to him, so I'm thinking that's what's happening in that stop. Michael Cullen's still sitting at the back of this group watching. And that's the first bit of intent we've seen there. That's a little bit of bump drafting, and then you see what he did there just before turning to turn 1. Got out of the throttle and tried to save a dash of fuel. We know that fuel saving is going to be possible, but how much can he save as Dan Stevens comes in our second Renault Clios, which, if you didn't watch, was the car of choice last night in Max Bands.
It's interesting for Daniel Stevens because he's still short of the halfway. And what his stop time looks like to Dale Sharp will give us a better picture.
Sharp stop time was 21 seconds. We'll see what Stevens can do here, how quick his stop is. 18.3, so shorter by about the amount of time he was stopped in the lane for those first stops. So maybe the Clios can make it on that little amount of refueling.
Very, very interesting, because if every other GR86 makes it to halfway but then needs to stop for 40 seconds, very tough. That advantage for Sam Chapman could devolve quickly.
Just going back to read my notes from Ira, who sent me some info around fuel strategy. Clio should be able to do 30 laps, but the 86 might only do 28 or 29, so they may need a splash and dash and do 2 stop. This is the start of lap 29 right now, and our first 7 cars are yet to come into the pits. It's Jordan Dakin continuing on. But coming in here is Michael Ladder, so top 6 still yet to make their first pit stop. So we'll probably see all of these guys come in on this lap, and we're not at the halfway point of the race yet. Now 45 is race distance, which means 52 minutes is halfway, is that right?
I don't know, Mr. Maths Award, you tell me.
No, it is 52 and a half minutes is halfway.
because it's a 105-minute race.
Yeah. I had to work that back out again.
Yep.
I remembered that it was a 105-minute race, so that was how I worked that out. So yeah, it should be a 59-lap race, maybe a 60-lap race based on the current pace.
This feels like a circuit where the stop time is just as important as the number of trips through the lane, because it's a very quick pit entry, quite a short pit lane at 72 kilometers an hour. You lose a bit on that exit trying to blend back up to speed, particularly for cars that are flat through turn one. It's only until you get to the southern loop where you're really back at racing pace. But overall, I mean, 2 quick stops isn't the worst thing here. All of these, including the leader, stay out, which will take them past the halfway point of the race.
Track temp has dropped since the race start, as well as a little lap traffic here starting to make these guys do a little bit of weaving and working where they want to plant their cars. But yeah, track's down below 50 for the first time all race day. It's a little interesting in this pack now, as we see Jordan Dakin from 6th position coming into the pits. So now the top 5, the only ones left to make their first and potentially only pit stop in this race.
It's like Nathan Verney had already taken 40 seconds of fuel that they're coming up towards lapping. So Verney's already made one and possibly his only stop. We're waiting on the rest of the Toyota GR86s right about now, I reckon.
The car of choice in the Toyota 86 may be one that is the right choice for most of the drivers now. It looks like the MX-5 has definitely not been the correct choice, but the option of it is that it was such a middle of the road car that, you know, does everything pretty good, but it just doesn't look like it's got enough to match up to the Renault and the 86.
Riddle me this: if Dale Sharp has made the only stop he needs to make with 21 seconds of fuel, is Verney... Oh no, is he launched that motor, or is he just kicked up the dust?
I think it's just... it's the new dust.
Sam Chapman's hits. Everyone else is coming along. If these guys all need to take 37 to 40 seconds of fuel, one exception, Michael Cullen, and Dale Sharp is good after 21 seconds, it'll be very close. So where Chapman and others blend relative to Dale Sharp, and it's a question of, is that Renault Clio good to go?
Another part of that too is, do they take tyres when they stop now, or do they just take fuel? Do they take 2 tyres? Who's tested it to work out what the right thing to do is?
Well, and Bartosz isn't, but Baker is, I think.
Yep. And here comes Sharp. Will he overtake Chapman? I don't believe so. Chapman's going to hold on to the lead. He's away. Baker's just been dropped. Bartosz has just been dropped. And Allen has just been dropped. They're going to come out right with... Allen's away. He's the first of the group out. And there goes, you just saw shooting across the front of the screen, Dale Sharp. So he's regained what is now 2nd position. The other 3 in the group have all come out together. Difference between the fastest and the slowest in the group, around about 3 seconds, give or take. 1 car left to pit in this race, and he's on his 31st lap of this stint. He's done 55 minutes in the stint of driving. We did notice that he was fuel saving coming into turn 1. He was tucked in 4th in line, so I'm not too surprised that he's decided to save a bit of fuel and do a little bit shorter stop. But will it pay off?
Certainly some interesting stop times there. 25 seconds for Sam Chapman, 23 for Ronald Allen, 25, 26 Tony Baker, Dan Bartosz, as here comes Michael Cullen. Could also be a relatively quick one. So what then, those 37-second stops, were they 4 tyres? Joseph Parkinson and Jordan Dakin, what was the go with them, that they're one stop so much longer than these others?
It's either that taking tyres, which we probably would. I mean, if you're getting a fast repair or using a fast repair, you're probably going to take fresh tyres to make sure that the car's balanced properly. That would be the extra time potentially, but the other side is it also these guys have taken enough fuel to get it home, as Parkinson just filled the car up. I'm not 100% sure. Michael Cullen is coming out and his pit stop fits in basically identically with the rest of them. How's he going to go with the blend though? He's going to come out ahead, but these guys are going to steam up on him very, very quickly.
Yeah, and because turn one's basically flat out, they'll continue to steam up on him all the way to the southern loop.
Easiest way to make that pass that he couldn't get done out on track though, he's get past all three cars and come out now in effective third position. Ahead of them all. Remember, he was at the back of the group the entirety of that first phase of the race. Now he leads the group.
Tony Baker's looking pretty feisty though. He was making up some spots through turn one and then off of southern loop and sweeping through turn three to the braking zone of the hairpin turn four. Baker's going to get ahead again. Ronald Allen will look to follow him around the outside, bit of squeeze at the apex there. Now Allen will have the inside of Siberia.
Dan Bartush, who led a large portion of that phase in the race when these four were all together before the pit stops, is now at the back of the group and trying to work out where he can get back past again. As you say, Baker's got through, but Michael Cullen looks like he's content to just let these guys go back past again. Is he going to save a dash more fuel as Bartush just keeps it on the track, but not by much? Oh, that's deep, that's deep. Put it up. Good job.
One thing I've noticed, there is less grip offline than there used to be.
Yeah, well, there has been the update to the debris to make sure that it's a little bit more realistic, so we'll see more dirt, debris, rocks.
It's marbles as well that I think I'm seeing offline in some places. So like MG there, you end up maybe sort of like 2.5 car widths wide, and you're on some pretty filthy stuff. Same's probably true of trying to go around the outside too far here of southern loop. See, yeah, you can see a bit of stuff, particularly in that final car width around the outside. That they've been working enough different racing lines with 3 different types of cars on track and enough this and that sort of a shoulder width either side of the racing line is still clear, but if you get too far out, there's not a whole lot happening.
You'll be able to see it at the bottom of the screen there. You can see, look at all the marble build up just offline there and down that escape road of what used to be the hairpin. You can see just so many marbles starting to build up there, and you can see it offline there too. So one thing I have noticed is that the drivers have kept the car on the road a lot more than what we used to see. I feel like they're staying within the track limits a lot better. We used to see a little bit more corner cutting, a little bit more liberal use of the curbs on corner exits than we previously have. They're being a little bit more cautious of that, knowing that it will bring debris, rubbish, etc. onto the track, but also keep that on your tyres where you'll lose a little bit of grip for a few moments as well. So I feel like it's been a really good, positive improvement to the iRacing service.
A bit more flat out, a bit more spread out in this next group. So you've got Sam Chapman leading, Dale Sharp in second, and then Tony Baker in third. Half lap not bad from Sharp.
Never gained a 10th or so he's gaining a little bit of time back, but not enough. But he'll take an advantage in time gain over losing ground like he was before.
Baker taking them a little bit more flat out now than was happening before the pit stops. Or it'll take a lap or two for the slipstream to start stringing them back together as they were.
Visually, you can see that that gap between Chapman and Sharp is a little bit closer than what we've previously seen. He has pitted 11 laps earlier than Chapman, so we're still obviously have that question mark around fuel. But if he's good to go, he's done a very, very good job of getting himself out of that group of cars that was slowing him down or causing him drama, and getting himself in some sort of position where he may be able to pull that rabbit out of the hat and maybe steal a little bit of ground and track position and potentially the win. It's only going to take one minor error for Chapman to lose all of that advantage that he currently has.
A little bit wide on the exit of Southern Loop. And Allen very close to Tony Baker.
Stevens still continuing on after making his second pit stop. He's closing the gap down little by little to Joseph Parkinson ahead. Current gap around about 6.5 seconds. The same gap is what we're seeing between Chapman and Sharp for the race lead. See if that gap does close down to basically nothing in a little bit. Doing a good job of getting the car back facing the right direction. Saying before about how the Clio was the car of choice in Max Bantz last night and did compete in Max Bantz. Has won Max Bantz just like yourself, David? On the winner of Max Bantz?
Inaugural.
You were the inaugural and you retired, you put it on the fridge. Most,
That's
impressive.
wide at one. It's way, way wide.
That's a good
For
save.
Ronald Allen.
Not many people save it at the exit of turn 1 running off the circuit, but he has done a brilliant job of holding onto that car. Now, I've just been talking up Dan Stevens.
Yeah. What has he done to the man? Has he crashed on pit entry?
He has.
Or has he crashed and ended up in pit entry? Doesn't seem to have an unsafe entry penalty.
He's crashed on his way into the pits. I can confirm that. He's running in, trying to get in deep. And understeer as he puts his foot on the brake. It's of course front wheel drive. Doesn't want to turn when you've got the fronts locked. And,
Any wheel drive doesn't want to turn when you've got the fronts locked.
That's a good point. Yeah, hits the wall and already used his fast repair as well, so hopefully he hasn't got too much damage, but I don't see a meatball flag on his car for that one.
That's the thing with the Renault though, no ABS, while the Toyota and Mazda have got it. Toyota train into turn 1.
Baker back in the lead as well. feel like something's brewing in this group. They're all driving. I'm not going to say courteously, but they're driving.
They can see Dale Sharp. That's the thing.
Yeah, they're trying to make sure they don't drop too far back. The gap's staying around that 6 to 7 second bracket, isn't it? It's sort of fluctuating. Sharp's starting to lose that bit of ground again to the race leader, so the tyre wear, I'm guessing, is a little bit more extreme in the Clio than it is in the 86, which is probably correct, being front wheel drive. Front tyres definitely wouldn't be enjoying life. But yeah, I feel like they are... Something's going to happen big in this group. It's just a matter of when. Can we catch it live? Someone's going to do something that's going to surprise everyone else, and it's going to end in disaster, I feel.
Front right tyre takes a double dose of hit on the Renault Clio. They're together, so Dale Sharp's just ahead. Stevens, who's a lap down to him. Stevens is pretty quick.
The group is actually fractured a tiny little bit. I mean, it's not a huge margin, but there is enough to...
Cullen and Allen are the slightly shorter stoppers as well.
So are they still thinking they're slightly marginal on fuel?
It's always this thing, you have the first stint of the race where you're in a lot of traffic, a lot of slipstream, a lot of battling, and then if you end up in clean air, just hot lapping, your fuel consumption will be way higher later on. So you think about this right now, okay, we're running in this pack, we're slipstreaming a little bit, if you Michael Cullen or Ronald Allen, but it's nothing like the first 20 or 25 minutes where all of them were with Dale Sharp and really needing to roll it into the corners. It was different then racing, pardon me, with Dale Sharp than it is now. Dale Sharp in for a second time, so I think this is 2 stops for the Clios, 1 stop for GR86s, 1 stop for Mazdas. So we've seen 2 stops from Daniel Stevens, and we're seeing a second from Dale Sharp. Tony Baker goes to second, Dan Bartush up in third, Michael Cullen to fourth, Ronald Allen trying to hang on to the back of this group at the moment in fifth. Got a little bit sideways out of Siberia on the previous lap. It's 20 seconds again from Dale Sharp. So a 60 litre versus 80 litre fuel tank for those Renault Clios could be their disadvantage, even though they got a good bit of straight line speed. Sharp rejoins in the 7th outright. Jordan Dakin behind Joseph Parkinson. Warren Henry in for the second time. So is this a 2-stop race for the Mazdas as well?
John Snell and Nathan Burney changing position down the front straight. Seen these guys battle a little bit throughout the race and change position a few times. Interesting as well with the pit stop cycle, they've got themselves back up onto the lead lap again. There we go. Said something was about to happen in this group.
Tony Baker didn't look like he quite wanted to give up on it. And off the southern loop, he's not ready to give up on it.
This is a really interesting fight. Cullen started to look a little bit more aggressive now after the pit stop as well. Eyes back up to 10th. Baker and Bartosz going at it pretty aggressively, and every now and again that gap between the front two and the second two, or the third and fourth place cars in the group, stretches out to a fairly decent margin. Then all of a sudden it closes back in again once these guys go side by side. If these two at the front work together, I feel like they could break the draft on those guys behind.
Now, I've seen Dan Bartosz pushing Tony Baker, but I don't think I've seen Tony Baker pushing Dan Bartosz.
That's a
Here
very
in the
good point.
braking zone again is where Cullen and Allen gain a whole heap there in the MG. So they're still gaining a bit across some of the braking zones.
Cool thing about this battle is they have been fighting like this since minute 0 of the race. As soon as we went green, they were into it like they have been now, and have been fighting for the entire 75 odd minutes of racing so far. 32 minutes left on the clock. Not much racing left in this one.
Baker got to Bartosz's bumper and wouldn't push him.
I think part of that is that they know that they are almost 100% unlikely to catch back up to Sam Chapman. Baker's not worried about the guys behind. He's just worried about getting to the lead of the group at the right time. So we're almost at that point now of working out, where you need to be on that last lap. We're going to see a few practice runs on these guys on where they need to be at the end of the final corner. You see side by side there between Cullen and Ronald Allen, who's caught back up to the group quite well. But we're going to see these guys try and work out where they need to position their car to get the run to steal the position on the last lap at the start-finish line. Do they want to be the leader of the group? Do they want to be second in line, third in line? How close do they need to be at the exit of the final corner? All of those things I'll be trying to work out over the next 28, 29 minutes to make sure that they're right and exactly in the right spot for that final lap coming up. Nathan Verney back in the pits again. One of the MX-5s coming in for its second pit stop of the race. We weren't sure if we were going to see 2 stops in the MX-5 or not. Looks like it's definitely 2-stop strategy for those guys as well.
Yeah, and they fill quite slowly as well.
Yeah, despite the fact they've got a small tank, it's not a very, very quick fill, and you also aren't going to see them do too many tyre changes because it's a very old school method of changing tyres on those cars. I thought they might have been okay because they are fairly economical on their fuel use, but looks like the best all-rounder has turned in to be the Toyota 86 today.
This is Michael Cullen. Elbows out here. So he'll have a bit of a go at Tony Baker. Baker keeps that inside and tries to take it wide into Siberia, and that's far enough wide from Cullen that he ended up in some of the dirty stuff, I think, out there. And Baker tried to just help him to make sure that's what he did.
I was about to say he's about to yield the position there to Ronald Allen, but he hasn't. They've made door-to-door contact. First real bit of contact with this group for a while, and then he has to give up the spot to Michael Cullen. So Ronald Allen now gains a spot. Remember, not that long ago, he was at the back of the group and losing ground, and now all of a sudden he's fighting back in the group again and gaining back up towards the front. Another part of that to remember as well is he had the shortest pit stop out of the top 5 cars in the field. So is Allen okay on fuel? We are under half an hour to go. All these guys have been fighting as well. The gap at the front is now out to a massive 15 seconds.
Dan Stevens has been off.
Yeah. I just saw the smoke, but I wasn't sure who it was. So yeah, Stevens is the car that's gone off at turn 4. It's just a classic outbraking yourself maneuver.
Had a tiny bit of struggles with braking, and again, this is the only one that does not have ABS.
Little deep, little deep, little deep. Let's just lock up to the new sand particles or dirt particles getting thrown up on the track. You can see that the other cars all ended up flicking up some dirt that he had brought onto the track, so they've all lost a little bit of grip. Now,
the dust dispersed based on the wind speed, which is 19 k's an hour. So on a still day, you'll see that dust go up and go nowhere, but on a breezy track, you'll see it get moved away. Wind is from the west now, at a little bit faster speed.
From the west means it's blowing straight across from the left to the right of the screen on this shot. This is the only track I can work that out off the top of my head without thinking about it.
VIR so constantly gets displayed oriented south to north. I always forget which one's the north paddock, which one's the south paddock. We have a little bit of lap traffic coming up for this group. Dan Bartosz first, look down the inside of Michael Haynes, and then the rest of them actually kind of decide it's in their best interest to go single file.
You can see from our Zoom feed that Dan Stevens is receiving the blue flags. You can see his awesome setup with the eye flags on either side of his dash. You can see them flashing blue and yellow on these, so you can see that he is receiving the blue flag, so that's the notification that there are cars a lap ahead of you coming up to overtake you. You don't have to move out of the way, you just need to be aware. And I'm sure that he is very, very aware of what's going on behind him. He hasn't had the most luck today. Remember, he only missed out on pole position by 9 thousandths of a second. The entire top 3 separated by 9 thousandths of a second, which is incredible when you think of the field that we've got. 2 different makes of car that aren't designed to be the same pace are the same pace around this track on a 1-lap dash. It's absolutely incredible. Stevens maintaining the gap for now, but you feel like it'll be gone now that they're getting into the slower segments of the track.
You also had your 2 best Mazdas, Warren Henry and Nathan Verney, battling it out as though trying to get out of the way. He finds that horrible, filthy last couple of meters around the outside there. It's Dan Stevens.
Tony Baker taking that inside line and almost lost a bit of ground there. He's going to maintain the position. No, he actually has made the overtake, hasn't he? Because Bartosz was ahead at the start-finish line, and he may lose another spot here to Ronald Allen. So running very, very wide there, Bartosz flicks up a whole heap of dirt and dust. And look at the ground they've already lost to Tony Baker. He's starting to pull away. Oh, don't go 3 wide here.
You know they might. Almost.
Definitely considered it to be an option there, and good job from the 132 there of Ronald Allen to back out of it. He has cost himself a spot, but I think overall he's probably been the smartest of the group there to back out, because if you had kept it 3 wide, I think all 3 could have ended up in the fence quite easily.
Yeah, right in the hay sheds.
Yeah, they would have been out in that wood pile out at Hayshed.
There's a pile of used tyres somewhere out there as well.
There is. And, a few rubbish bins out there as well. Big, what are the big dumpsters called? I'm trying to think of what we used to call them back at school. We used to call them by some sort of name, and I can't remember what it was called.
You want to skip?
No, it was something. I really can't remember.
Ned Kelly's helmet? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think Victorian.
I can't remember what it was either. It was a long time ago when I was at school, so give me a bit of a break. Baker's already pulled a 1.5 second advantage on these guys from that little bit of fighting that they've had down the front straight and the end of the previous lap. So he's probably feeling like he's got away from these guys now.
It's actually Dan Stevens passing Leon Williams for position right there. Whoa, Bartosz runs it wide off of Siberia, and their attempts to catch Tony Baker continue to find stumbling blocks.
Dan Stevens got a good view of the battle that's going on in front of him, and you can see just behind him Leon Williams is starting to close in, and that is a battle for position as well. So we're starting to get some battles for position closing up right at the end of this race.
Ronald Allen ended up in the marbles way out wide. Tony Baker's trying to make sure he can break the toe if possible. Here's where they need Stevens to push him along.
Yeah,
with the Renault power.
Baker has pulled out 1.7 seconds now, and you can see that Williams is not far behind Stevens either. And you're talking before about these two guys, Henry and Verney. These guys have been bumping each other every lap. Now they're going to go side by side down the front straight. Always good when you can fight for 15th, 14th position in these sort of races, isn't it? Outside goes Nathan Verney, and he will get the spot from Warren Henry, who's having a few tech issues as well, so probably not helping the battle. Back to this group, and Michael Cullen's starting to pull a bit of a margin now on Dan Bartosz and Ronald Allen, who haven't been able to match him for pace. Tony Baker is well and truly away. He's got over 2 seconds now.
I'd be asking Stevens to push me. Come on, Dan. Goes. We're looking from the Renault's bumper.
I don't think he's going to do it. No, he doesn't even get close enough to him, does he? I don't think he backed out of it there either. It's just like the car didn't want to engage. Couldn't get up close enough. So whether he's got a little bit of damage, remembering that he did have to come in and use that fast repair very, very early in the race. So whether he's now struggling to make the car finish the race. Still 20 minutes to go, so still a decent chunk of racing to go. Normal Ozicar race left, really, in this one.
Down the inside, Ronald Allen now going to force Bartosz out a little bit into that dirty stuff again. It's a tactic now, but it doesn't work.
It'll be interesting when we get into the new season of Ozicar Tin Top Cups, which will start in January. Whether we see that sort of move as an actual strategy in the races, where you just lean on another car force and wide. Going off the circuit is going to be such a bigger penalty than what we've seen previously. So I wouldn't be surprised if race control throughout every league out there have to relook at their rule books around that sort of thing, because the off-track nature of these circuits now, it's a little bit more dynamic. It'll affect the racing a lot more running off the circuit or forcing someone to take 2 wheels off the track.
Yeah, so at Siberia and MG from the helicopter shots, it's very clear where's grippy and where's very, very dirty. Now Daniel Stevens has engaged the bumper and he's giving the Toyota GR86 some super speed, but not close enough from Allen to then push Bartusz. So as a group, I don't think we went any quicker.
One thing is that they've actually closed that gap back down to Tony Baker while they've been working. Well, Cullen has. He's got it down to 1.2 seconds. Last lap by, he was the fastest car on track and was faster than Cullen by around about half a second. So the gap at the front of this group is closing, and you can see the extra cars involved now, but, being John Snell. That is going to be for position with Dan Stevens at the back, as we've got another car in the pits. It's Nathan Verney. He's in for his 3rd pit stop. He did it only 7 laps ago.
Did he have some dramas while he was racing with Warren Henry? He's fallen 30 seconds or so back from Warren Henry before coming into the pit lane now. I think he's come in, taken that fast repair and gone right back out, Nathan Verney.
Yeah, I've just seen his car. It's got a fair bit of damage on it, so I'm just trying to see if we can work out why. Definitely didn't get a mechanical black flag, but he's got a lot of damage to the car. And I have found why. We'll get a replay in a moment. So just see that Dan Stevens has just gone and got back ahead of Robert Allen, who's now really struggling to maintain the pace of these guys around. And in the background there, John Snell has a huge moment.
Curbs and other imperfections can be tough. Here's Nathan Verney through turn 1. Right in behind Warren Henry. Does he look to the... Oh, mate, it's filthy. Absolutely filthy there. And he gets the tyres on the inside.
That will hurt your car every time. That's why his front of his car was damaged, and as you said, he came in and used his fast repair straight away. A lot of drivers still have them available if something happens, but around about half the field have used their fast repair.
Stevens is on fire all of a sudden. Michael Collins caught Tony Baker.
And John Snell's just picked up a mechanical black flag as well, so I'm not sure how that's happened. I can see on the timing screen that he's got one, but I don't know how it's happened. Just rewinding, I can't see any incident that warranted.
Does he have a flat tyre? Does he run long enough that he's done his front right?
You know what? I feel like you're right. I think he has blown a tyre. Look, the car's on all sorts of an angle there. So yeah, has he popped the tyre? Look, the front right is definitely looking like it's not right.
I've seen this before with the Porsche Cup car after a long stint. If there's a particular tyre that's taken a hit, then you just plain wear the thing out.
I've seen it in the Formula 1 cars as well, and the Mercedes Formula 1 cars, where the tyre will go down to the carcass and will actually pop on you. So yeah, it does happen. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. I've not seen it in these lower horsepower cars though, but yeah, I'm not surprised that it would happen. See that something that we thought was going to happen. Ever since he got clear of that group, Michael Cullen has closed that gap down and closed it quickly.
Bartusz just got a massive push from Dan Stevens, who now backs out behind Ronald Allen. So Michael Cullen's caught Tony Baker. Bartusz got a nice little boost down towards turn 1 on this lap.
These guys at the front of the group too, Baker and Cullen, they're actually gaining time on Sam Chapman ahead as well. So Chapman's still leading, but that gap has dropped by about 1.5 seconds over the last 2.5 laps. So he should be okay, but if he's worried about fuel, worried about tyre wear. If he's heard that someone's had a tyre pop, he could be worried that that could happen to him. I wonder if anyone else has thought about that. And I don't think anyone would have tried to do a full 1 hour 45 minute stint on a set of tyres in practice. So I don't think anyone would be expecting them to, get to the point where the tyres are going to pop.
I spoke about this with our leaders. Some of them looked like they maybe took 2 tyres. Some of them looked like they didn't.
Yeah. So turned into a fascinating little end of the race, hasn't it? Where we don't know what's going to happen because literally anything could happen from this point on. Joseph Parkinson's in. I've just seen John Snell's got another mechanical black flag. How is that happening?
Silverstone 2012, let's go. What's going on?
The only thing that's happened since he's left the pits, he ran wide at Southern Loop, but just ran off the track and ran back on. Parkinson's in because he has hit 30 laps on his stint, so he's had to come in and get a bit more fuel. Remembering he came in and used his fast repair because he had that damage to the front of the car. Baker and Cullen, it's on. And Bartosz and Allen is on as well. So we've got battles going on everywhere. We've got all sorts of drama with mechanical black flags and the like. This has turned into something bizarre. We don't know if the lead is going to pop a tyre or not. As off the track goes Bartosz, and will he lose the position for 4th?
Well, I'm looking again. Tony Baker went up on the jacks, but Chapman didn't. Bartosz didn't. And Allen didn't.
Wilkinson in to get more fuel. He's on 31 laps in his stint. These guys would have to be feeling nervous about tyres now.
Yeah, well, they'd have at their disposal the wear indicator from when they made their first stop. Whether they took tyres then or not, there will have been a reading taken. So that would be about the halfway point. And if you had, 60% of the tyre left then, you'd know you need to conserve it a little bit. Cullen and Tony Baker side by side heading towards turn 1 again. The inside's the place to be, it seems. And look at how much dirt there is around the outside here.
Yeah, definitely been a lot of build-up of marbles at the exit of the outside of turn 1 and the outside of turn 2. Definitely a place where it will build up. Also just seen that Dan Stevens has got himself back into the top 10. He's been slaving away for the entire race to try and get himself back into a position. He's just come out ahead, or Peter Wilkinson has just come out behind, I should say. Is just ahead of him is that battle we've been talking about between Allen and Bartosz. They're going to continue on, and Baker and Cullen, this is going to turn into probably the best battle of the race because these guys are fighting as hard as you like without doing anything to cause damage to the cars. This has been a great battle the whole way through. Baker and Cullen, they are looking like the MVPs of the race in regards to making it entertaining for us.
So under 10 minutes to go. The Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup. Sam Chapman's still got that 15 seconds. Tony Baker and Michael Cullen.
Will Cullen be close enough to get that move done again? Not quite close enough yet, but I must say he's not far away. I feel like, as I was talking about earlier, working out where you need to be to start that final lap and coming out of the final corner on the last lap. He's starting to try and work that out now, isn't he? He's trying to work out where he can position his car to steal that spot right at the end.
And as Baker was so far defensive to the inside, brake lights came on through from turn 1 for him, so it's not the fastest way to do this, but they're fully 5 seconds ahead. Ronald Allen now. There's a whole bit going on back there with Stevens as well.
Cullen, I thought, was far enough ahead to maybe get the move done, but has to tuck back in behind again. Baker using the inside line very, very nicely, and now Cullen, will he be able to get the spot back once more? This is a great fight going on. As you said, that other battle is still ongoing as well. Bartosz has actually lost that now, hasn't he?
Cullen sliding a little bit. One of the drivers that did not go up on the jacks in the pit stop.
This is what's happened to end the battle for 4th and 5th for Dan Bartosz. Runs it a little bit wide through the exit of Southern Loop, off in the dirt. Dan Stevens gets past him, and then he's running side by side with Peter Wilkinson for a moment there too. So he's now 2.5 seconds back. That means that this is the only battle within 2 seconds. And these guys have been basically within 2 seconds for the entirety of this race. All 138 minutes. Sorry, 1 hour and 38 minutes. That sounds better. 98 minutes of racing.
Minutes.
Oh, it's been a long week.
Bit of a slide again from Cullen on the way into Southern Loop there. So he's leaning on the tyres. He's like, is the inside open there? Is the inside open over here? He's concerned about the tyres. I kind of slide. Put some temperature in them, heat them up a little bit. Track temp's down to 45 Celsius, so not the 53 that we started with again. Another massive slide. From Cullen, he's all over the place.
And Baker was aggressive on exit there too, and had to use all of that AstroTurf on the corner exit, which can sometimes cause a little bit of drama, but he's done a good job of maintaining the pace, maintaining the position. But Cullen's just got something more, but he just cannot finish the move off. He's alongside now. This may be the opportunity around the outside at Hayshed, inside through Lukey Heights. He's going to be stuck on the outside though through MG, but can he force Baker to go a little bit shallow? No, he's going to have to tuck back in behind, but tell you what, he's close enough now. Oh no, big mistake though for Cullen.
He nearly Peter Wilkinsoned it there as he ran a little wide out of MG, got the curb, got the brass on the far side of the curb, but just managed to save it. Baker almost breaks the toe again. He's trying very hard to see if he can do that. Oh, what's Stevens doing back there?
Stevens is trying to get himself back up on the lead lap, maybe even trying to see if he can get himself the fastest lap. This is the moment that almost, I tell you what, it looked a lot worse externally than it did internally. It looked like he had it completely under control. Michael Cullen, well done.
Definitely in the marbles and all that.
Five minutes of racing remaining as well, so not long left in this one. Is there enough time for him to close that gap back down once more? There probably is enough time to get back there, but is there enough time for him to then get the position as well? There would be 3 laps to go at the line as well, so not many laps left of racing. There is...
Yeah, that'd give Sam Chapman 29 laps on his final stint, having gone 30 at the start of the race.
Which means that Cullen's only going to go 28 laps in comparison to everyone else doing 29 in their stint. With 4 minutes left on the clock, he crosses the start-finish line, so another minute 50, minute 45-ish. 2 more of them will mean we'll have about 30 seconds, 35 seconds left on the clock when he comes across the line to start the final lap of the race. See, they're side by side as well at the back of this shot. Is Dan Stevens and Dan Bartosz. They're having a little battle, and Stevens gets on through. He's now pulled 4.5 seconds over Peter Wilkinson. And speaking of pulling in gaps, Baker He's got Cullen right back behind him again. The draft has been huge for Michael Cullen on this lap.
Yeah, his best efforts, and you can't get rid of Michael Cullen. And Stevens continuing to just play with Ronald Allen 4 seconds behind this group.
Dan Bartush's got a mechanical black flag. He's just picked up a mechanical black flag. Is that for another potential tyre blowout?
Now, I think I've seen mechanical black flags come up at a wear percentage just before the tyres actually and completely deflate.
Yep.
So, at this point, he can stay out. Potentially.
Yes. Yeah, if he can control the car, he'll be able to stay out. He won't need to come in and do that. But that is still concerning for these other drivers, because if it comes out and it does cause the car to lose speed, lose momentum, then they will have to be extremely cautious. Tony Baker on the aggressive weave to try and hold on. Dan Bartush will come in to the back of the shot coming up here. See him just at the exit of the final corner at the back of the shot there. He is staying out, continuing on, but he is down on speed for sure.
Something to keep an eye on, and a warning to a few of the others as well.
I'm sure everyone's aware of it now.
Yeah, I mean, you would have seen the wear at the halfway point and gone, ooh, that's a bit.
Well, you can also see the pace of the leaders has definitely dropped off as well. They've definitely slowed down the pace. Only by half a second, 3/4 of a second, but they have slowed it down. They're not pushing as hard as they were at the start of the day. That could also be exhaustion, fatigue, car not behaving as well as it was, all of these sort of factors. So it could be any of those, but it definitely is showing that the pace has dropped away due to some sort of factor.
Will be the white flag for Sam Chapman on the start-finish straight for one more lap of Phillip Island. He's got a 15-second lead. There it is. One more. And then Tony Baker and Michael Cullen are so close together for second and third.
Closest they've been in a long time. Cullen is right there to pounce, but the last time he was this close, he made an error and almost put it in the wall. But I tell you what, I think he's going to get by. He's got the run, he's got the advantage. Is he going to be able to get clear by the time they get to the apex of turn one? I tell you what, I think he is. I think he's clear. Is he going to be able to cut across? Doesn't do it. There's a tiny little bit of contact, but I tell you what great driving from both to hold on.
Yeah, he does, and they touch through turn one and then into the southern loop. Michael Cullen is ahead. Tony Baker's still got some opportunities on this final lap to get one back at him. Not least the next big braking zone at turn 4, but then also the rest of the way around the lap. Head down towards 4, sweeping through this left-hander. You see Cullen's offline, ready to defend the braking zone at the inside, so deep from Tony Baker. Rolling a little bit off, half a car width wide. Tony Baker ends up in that dirty stuff.
It's the first time that Cullen's actually had to show his defensive abilities as well in this race. He's been on the attack every single lap the whole way through, and another error there from Tony Baker almost puts the car in the fence, and I think he's almost thrown up his own white flag, because I think he may have to surrender and give up the position. What a great battle that was the whole way. He's got one more opportunity to potentially steal the spot, but I don't think he's got anything left in the car. I don't think he's got anything left in his mental ability to get this move done. No, he's had to throw it from a long way back and can't do it. But Sam Chapman coming up to finish the race. He will win the race and win the Ozicar Tin Top Endurance Cup Championship. Well done, Sam Chapman.
Really critical move early in the race to be able to get around the Renaults and separate himself from the rest of the Toyota GR86s. Michael Cullen. I think the line will come up just in time, but we see many a drag race here at Phillip Island. Cullen ahead of Baker for the podium.
And Allen finishes in 4th in the end, and limping at home here, Dan Bartush. There is no grip left on those tyres. One of them has definitely gone, and his pace has dropped away dramatically. He was 6 seconds slower on that lap. Dale Sharp tried something different in the alternate car in the Clio, but it looks like the fuel mileage on that car just wasn't strong enough to make it work. It was a valiant effort though, because he did do a great job out on track while he had pace out there.
And then obviously the opportunity to do a little more with the tyres. The pace of those Clios right at the end here was good, but their tank size meaning that they needed to make 2 stops made it tough for them to be competitive against the GR86s. His latter in 9th is going to be one of the last cars that finishes.
That was a fun event, fun race to finish off the year of Ozicar. We can start to do it all again pretty soon as well. But these are the results.
Everyone's finished and Sam Chapman wins the race. Michael Cullen, Tony Baker on the podium. Great battle between them. Ronald Allen in 4th. Fell apart a little late for Dan Bartush with his tyres in 5th. Dale Sharp then in 6th in the Clio. Joseph Parkinson, Jordan Dakin, Michael Latter in Toyota GR86s, and then Dan Stephen 10th, having needed to make 3 stops in his Renault Clio. Peter Wilkinson 11th in Mazda, Leon Williams 12th in GR86. Sorry, Wilkinson was in a GR86 as well, wasn't he? I keep getting this confused.
Yeah,
Warren Henry,
Verney was in the MX-5.
Verney, both Mazda races, and then Michael Haynes and John Snell 15th, 16th.
Good news is Ozicar racing action returns relatively soon. 6th of January is the start of the next Ozicar season. And we will be back out on track in the Tin Tops once again. Will be an Asia Pacific tour. Details will be on the Facebook page. Probably later tonight or early next week. So make sure you check out the Ozicar Facebook page. But congratulations go to the driver of this car, that being Sam Chapman.
How much tyres has he got left?
Well, I don't know, but he seems to be giving it a good burnout. I think by this point they're probably down to not much. But good job on getting a decent donut to finish the race off as well.
20 k's an hour of wind speed will blow the smoke away and across the pit lane and the paddock.
Hey, well, it's a very good burnout. It's done. Well done.
Save too much fuel, mate. That's the end of Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup from Phillip Island. Ozicar supported by Sim Racing League's Locked On Lads, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. Toyota GR86s, Renault Clios and Mazda MX-5s lapped Phillip Island for an hour 45 minutes, and Sam Chapman was just unstoppable. That's all from us here at SimSpeed TV. Enjoy your break, enjoy the new year, and there's plenty more Ozicar to come in 2025.